You write not to explode. The main reason to write is that you have a problem. You have to have a problem with what is presented to us as life. If it doesn't destroy and develop the self, writing produces empty vanity. Writing is deconstructing life and the self. Writing can be defined as putting ideas and imagination on paper in an alphabetical system. My first book experience started at 8 when I opened the geography atlas and wrote a child's trip on the world map. I wrote about 30 pages and got bored and quit. When I was around 13 years old, I was inspired by writers like Charles Darwin and Karl Marx, whom I had read but understand only a little, and I started writing a theory. I wrote about 20-25 pages and then stopped. I started writing a diary around the same age and kept a diary regularly until I was 16-17 years old. My first book was my master's thesis. This thesis was not copied and pasted like other theses. I interpreted it as an anti-capitalist text in the media and was mainly influenced by John Baudrillard, The Apocalypse of the Virtual Icon Planet. If I remember correctly, it was published in 2008. So far, I have written over 10 books and over 30 academic articles. I write in various fields of social sciences because I started reading from a very early age. However, the main point that drives me to write is being disturbed by something. I write on issues that I see as inequality, injustice, or lies. I write texts related to the false myths of society, nationalism or religious radicalism, gender, etc. I cover the same topics on this channel. I choose topics I want to learn, not those I know. I walk on topics I have just learned and am excited to learn about. The topics I am uncomfortable with are the ones that people normalize. Most of the time I write on uncomfortable topics and I write to disturb them. The main reason to write is that you have a problem. If you don't have a problem, you can't write. You copy. To strengthen your problem, you can get support from people who have put their ideas on paper. But if you don't have a problem, you can't write. You have to have a problem with what is presented to us as life. Writing is a waste of paper if it's not a rebellion. If it doesn't destroy and develop the self, writing produces empty vanity. You can't go beyond a funny, writerly arrogance. Writing is deconstructing life and the self. It is an effort to overthrow the problems, chains, and falsities you see in society and yourself. If you write, you are a writer, even if you realize that no one reads you and perhaps no one ever will. You are not a writer if you write for any reason and profit. The only way to write the truth is to assume your writing will never be read, not by anyone else, not even by yourself afterwards. As André Gide said, when there is no self-interest, well written, well thought. You can write when you question the vanity of writing to the point of tearing yourself apart. I have known so many poor people who were arrogant about writing. Arrogance is the biggest barrier to having a self. The reason for writing should be some release or expression. You write because you are sick. You write not to explode. Sometimes you write as God and sometimes as the tiny speck. You write because you realize that even the tiniest speck is God. You write to reconstruct your God and create it. God is meaning. You write for meaning. When you record the world and yourself in writing, you remake it just like God. When you write history, you remake history. Just as you speak differently than you think, you write differently than you talk. Because what writes are the moments when you merge with something beyond the self. In these moments, you analyze and reconstruct phenomena. You take the facts out of the meaning of the system. This is why the system doesn't like real writers. Real writers cannot find a place in a group, intellectual group. Nietzsche was separated from academia and philosophical groups. So did Max Weber and Tolstoy. Foucault and Bourdieu were academics at the École Normale Supérieure. However, the institution was left free in a way that is rare in history. Despite this freedom, you feel the exclusion in Bourdieu's writings. They were all on the outside, from Walter Benjamin to Nazım Hikmet, and from Ray Bradbury to Gayatri Chakraborty Spivak. You cannot write from the inside. You must be an outsider on the inside or a total outsider like a prophet. You become an echo of what God says but doesn't write. Writing teaches thinking and develops thinking. You write by considering if you write about facts. But if this thinking doesn't carry emotion, it is dry, just like most academic texts are dry. Without emotion and belief, you cannot feel the facts. If you cannot feel, you cannot write. Writing is feeling, intuition, and emotion. If you don't lean on giant blocks of emotion such as anger, love, and faith, you will drown in the ocean of writing. If you are afraid of being alone, you can write. But if you cannot be alone, you cannot write. Writing is jealous of a second person. It hates a second person. When you write, you are so alone that all people and phenomena will you. The writer thinks with a pen, and everything planned by thinking without a pen is doomed to topple while writing. Thank you. Goodbye.